Whether you call it Qanba or Qanba, they're considered one of the major players in the arcade stick market for the fighting game community. The last console generation allowed them to supply models at different price points. Not only they had models for hardcore enthusiasts, but also for those on a budget. If you attended a local fighting game tournament or even a big major, you're bound to see one of the 4 PlayStation 4 arcade sticks from Qanba. Now with the PlayStation 5, it's time for new models. Thanks to Qanba, they provided me the 3 newest arcade sticks for review. 2 of them are successor models from the previous gen and will be talked about in a future video. For now, I'm the Phantom Nut with their newest arcade stick design called the Titan. Comparing all 3 sticks, the Titan is that middle child of the family, especially in design. It's not small like the Drone 2 nor large like the Obsidian 2. It carries some of the former such as the auxiliary controls and the rear USB cable compartment. The Titan does also carry some of the influence of the latter, with the general shape being more angular. Something somewhat unique to the Titan is that it also has a handrest on the rear and that has a faux carbon fiber look. My only peeve with the Titan's look, and even the Obsidian 2 and Drone 2, is that the simplistic black matte palette makes it plain to look at with stock parts. At the least, that can be relieved with a change of core parts and custom vinyl art wrap. The overall size reminds me of the Mad Catz Arcade Fight Stick SC if a tad bit wider. I personally would have loved it if it was just slightly more wider. Even then, it's big enough for most laps. When it comes to carrying, they're small enough to not be a burden in your arm or your bag. It doesn't even take over the main pocket of the Qanba shield, so I can put something like a Steam Deck in there as well. If you're worrying about slippage when in use, the anti-slip rubber mat on the bottom is probably the best quality I've experienced in an arcade stick. Whether it's in your lap, or even when playing on a surface, it'll stick well. Also, the weighted metal plate found on the bottom half is helping out in not making it flimsy but reasonably hefty at 5 pounds. If you're scared of the lightness of the Drone 2 at 2.6 pounds or the bulk of the Obsidian 2 at 7.39 pounds, the density of the Drone 2 might be the sweet spot. Now onto the main layout. Unique to the Titan compared to not only the other 2 current gen arcade sticks but also Qanba's previous efforts is the extended Taito layout. The high quality Sanwa Denshi JLF lever and the OBSF 30 push buttons are spaced out from each other. This makes any interference from both hands less likely to occur. For some players, I could definitely see this spacing feeling more comfortable. If you're considering changing the layout, consider it a lost cause as the layout is molded to the body. As mentioned, the Titan does feature a similar auxiliary control layout like the Drone 2. This includes the PlayStation button, touchpad, turbo, the PS5, PS4, PC switch, and more. I'm personally mixed on this. I really do like the options in the PS button's utilization as they're placed closer to the lever side where you're unlikely going to accidentally press either. When you need to, they require a deliberate push. I'm not a fan of the touchpad's placement though, as I believe it's too close to the main buttons. Due to the design, it's really the only place the touchpad can be, so I can accept the compromise. If you're a sloppy presser, you might want to discipline yourself to be more careful so you don't reset in the middle of learning a combo or setup in practice mode. Other features include a 3.5mm headphone jack that works in all modes. I was initially put out by the placement at the front, but it makes sense as it doesn't feel like an obstruction compared to being on the sides or even on the rear. If you have a compatible gaming headset, you could also use the Titan's mute controls in case you don't want your opponent to hear you mash out mid-match. As mentioned, the rear end has an internal space for tidy USB cable management like the Drone. It's easy enough to immediately take out the cable and wrap back when finished. Don't be a monster though and wrap it around the stick. While I prefer detachable cables to solve the monster situation, I could see it creating a price tag which Qanba might want to avoid. For what it is, however, the cable management is indeed manageable. When opening the Titan for parts modding, it's pretty simple as you need to take out the 6 screws found on the bottom of the stick. This includes the top right, which can void the warranty if tampered. If you've modified either the Crystal or Obsidian from last gen, you could expect the same here when it comes to parts replacement. The buttonholes are 30mm steel snap-ins or screw-ins from Sanwa, Seimitsu, Crown, Gamerfinger, and even Qanba themselves should work. For the lever side, it uses Qanba's own 4-hole mounting system. While I haven't tested levers using a Seimitsu's S mounting plate, any 4-hole flat plate from them or Sanwa should work. If you're looking to simply swap the block ball top, the bottom of the stick has a small quick latch that can allow you to use a flathead screwdriver to loosen and tighten. If you're using a Japanese mounted Korean lever, it really depends on what you're using. A normal crown lever was no issue for me. The Taeyong lever and the IST knee lever technically worked, but had to remove the bottom latch to allow the shaft to freely move. I even tried a Sanjuk's V6 lever, and it works, but requires not only the latch to be removed, but also adjustments to its mounting position to prevent the shaft from interacting with the latch's mount. Just note that anything bigger than 39mm from the plate to the bottom of the lever might give you trouble. If you're wondering about compatibility, it's basically cut and dry. There is a selection slider that allows for PlayStation 5 mode, PlayStation 4 mode, or PC mode through X input. Most if not all officially licensed PS4 sticks can work on a majority of PS5 games as of this video, including Street Fighter 6. Only a few set of games disable them. This includes you, PS5 version of Breaker's Collection. Keybind please fix. All the new PS5 sticks, including Qanba's, manages to bypass the minorities restrictions when set at PS5 mode. While you probably won't want to play Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy or Fortnite with an arcade stick, at least it's technically possible. These sticks also do work on PlayStation 3 as well, through either PS4 or PS5 modes. If I want to play Tekken 6 or Tekken Tag Tournament 2 for example, it's plug and play. Like many PS4 sticks, most of the controls function correctly, but the touchpad and the PlayStation button are disabled. For the latter function, better have a PS3 specific controller or a PS4 controller with a PS3 mode in case you want to switch games. Now here's what some might have been waiting for: latency. The quick explanation is that I grabbed an Arduino to test 1000 rapid inputs using Wide's testing process, USB lag. Let's compare the Titan with the last generation Qanba sticks as well as the king of overall compatibility boards, the Brook Universal Fighting Board. I have been informed recently regarding the Obsidian, Dragon, Crystal, and Drone having firmware updates since my video about them a while back. Due to time constraints, I can only really compare the latency of those sticks as they were from that video. Stay tuned for a future update video on their newest firmware builds. As of this video, the Titan is marginally performing better than the last Gen 6 on PlayStation 4 mode, with an average of 3.2 milliseconds compared to the 3.5 to 3.7 milliseconds of the others. When toggling PlayStation 5 mode, the Titan does seem to act similar to its older brethren. In normal circumstances, you could say that Qanba sticks are more or less even right here. You could use these modes on PC and overclock them to 1 milliseconds or 1000Hz polling rate. The end result is that the original Obsidian gets a noticeable lead over both Titan modes and the older sticks with an average of 1.6 milliseconds compared to the rest at 2.8 to 3.2 milliseconds. Let's go back to the native setting at 4 milliseconds or 400Hz, but now using the PC modes. The Titan does return a reign over with an average of 3 milliseconds, with the others having more distinct results. When overclocking, the Dragon takes the lead with the Obsidian and Titan following, but it looks like you can't really go wrong with any of these sticks at this mode when polled at 1000Hz. Before finishing the review, I did a little experiment to learn more about a part of the scene that I ignored. As we are now seeing more all-button controllers in the wild, there have been talks regarding SOCD cleaning in general. While the Titan is designed to use levers, there are devices that can create an all-button experience such as the WASD keyboard configured Odin V2 by Omni Arcade. Using the Capcom Pro Tour's May 2023 rule set for Street Fighter 6, it's determined that SOCD cleaning should result in the player character in a true neutral position. This applies to pressing both up and down as well as left and right simultaneously. Using the Odin, the Titan on SF6 is outputting last input priority. If you're holding up, then also holding down, the character position is at crouch. If you're holding left, then also holding right, you're going right. The result is that you'll need to install an SOCD cleaner that is compliant with CPT's rules. There are a couple of boards out there like those from BitBang Gaming and Jason's Customs that have functionality for true neutral cleaning. If you've been watching this review, you probably might have checked out stores that are selling and seen the price. The $224.99 price tag is pretty intimidating for being the middle end stick, especially if you've seen Qanba's last gen sticks costing relatively less in its lifetime. It seems that this might be the generation to expect arcade sticks and other special controllers to have an overall price hike. Maybe it's publisher licensing fees, prices of parts increasing, or even inflation. I don't know what it is, but I do think it's unfortunate that it is happening. For those who are looking to get a newer stick, especially those who are new to the fighting game community, it becomes a slightly complicated situation. The more economic alternative option, especially if you're needing to adhere to the console tournament standard of being PlayStation 4 and 5 focused, is getting an officially licensed PS4 stick. As mentioned, games including Street Fighter 6 do work with those sticks, but there's a possibility that future fighting games or even 2D focused games might blacklist these, even with fan demand for a whitelist. The newer PS5 sticks make it convenient if the compatibility situation occurred. It's really just the higher price that can be a deal breaker. It paints Qanba sticks and the rest as a much more serious investment and commitment than ever before. If you're insistent to get a PS4 stick from Qanba, however, they have unfortunately went through all their remaining stock, but you're bound to find one in the secondhand market. Hopefully there will be a time where the PS5 sticks will be a little bit cheaper overall, but always look out for event sales as they will lessen the burden of your wallet. Outside of the price and other concerns, I actually do like the Titan. I used it at various locals and didn't have any active complaints when in use. I'm contemplating in using this to replace my modified Hori Fighting Edge at this year's EVO. It might not have the frills of my main stick or even its sibling the Obsidian 2, but it has enough to do the job well. It's reasonably hefty and decently sized, latency is pretty good, modding is easy to perform, also it's fully compatible with the PlayStation 5. Sometimes that is enough for the competitive player. With the Obsidian 2 looking more as a premium stick, I wouldn't be surprised if the Titan becomes Qanba's new workhorse and is commonplace in the future. The price just needs to be right sooner or later. If you haven't subbed, do so as my video on the Drone 2 and Obsidian 2 is coming soon. Until next time, thank you for watching.